Young got no one that back calling me splurge. Let me jump right off the curb. Bentley sprint fly like a bird. Spin on the first and the third. Solid, I'm keeping my word. Can't be my equal, I don't know what you.
What's up, guys? It's Nuke. I'm back in action for you guys. You guys know where to find me. Twitter.com, Caudillo Nuclear. Instagram, nuclearcaudillo. Twitch, nuclearcaudillo. Patreon, nuclearcaudillo. And then if you guys like and subscribe if you haven't already. But I just wanted to talk about a very important topic, and it's like a mindset shift that I did in my late 20s when I figured out the world a little bit. You know, some people never do, right? They always double down on lies and like things that aren't true, and then it's a life wasted, right? Because living in fantasy and living in what's not true is a waste of time, right? Because you're fighting against reality, and that's not very fun. It's very painful. So yeah, guys, let me know if my audio is good. I've been having trouble with my audio equipment today, and sorry for the change of time. I had an unforeseen circumstance, but I'm back, and glad to be here. So anyways, guys, I just wanted to talk about that you have to be the villain. And this is not only for dating, just life in general. When I say that, that doesn't mean go ahead and do anything illegal. That doesn't mean go ahead and just be an asshole for the sake of it. I do mean, though, that you can't play by the rules, the rules that not the legal rules, but the rules set out by society. You know, the what you're supposed to do, right? What you're supposed to do, right? There's a word that's one of the weakest words that claims a lot of people's lives, especially young men, and that's should. The word should, right? Should is one of the worst words you can use. And whenever someone uses about something that you personally that affects you, you need to, like, your radar should start going off. It's someone's about to say something outside of your frame. Someone is about something to you, and the only way they can make you do something is through guilt or shame. And we all know that guilt or shame is just a manipulation tactic, especially for people that are weak and only can manipulate through that way, right? They have no power. So yeah, we'll get into it. So with all the mainstream dating advice that's been thrown out there over the years, and when I say mainstream, like when I said on my thread, mainstream dating advice is about 10 years behind, right? Anywhere from 8 to 10 years behind, that's mainstream dating advice, right? So what's mainstream dating advice? Take her out to dinner. I mean, they're slowly catching on after like a decade, right? We've been saying this for like 5 years that, hey, you shouldn't take a girl out to dinner on the first date. But other than that, like you shouldn't take out a girl out to dinner. You shouldn't double text. These are the things they're just now figuring out, and it's so weird to see these podcasts that are like huge, and then they're having this guy that's so-called a dating guru, dating master, and he's saying stuff that that most of us have figured out. Most rational dudes, like figured out like 5 years ago. Like first 6 months of dating, seriously dating, getting out there is like, yeah, I figured this out. I traded notes and figured this out, right? So like mainstream dating advice it has a lot of problems. Then we have like therapy language, like that's the new thing. It's last 2 years, there's been this obsession with therapy language, like the certain words like healing and trauma, healing, and the list goes on. Just a whole bunch of words where it's just they don't mean anything. They're container words. One that I see a lot because I date like Latinas and Asians, is the generational trauma. I don't even know what that means, right? It can mean anything from, your dad abandoned your mom when they came to the United States or something, or it could mean that your dad hit you because you were a little, you were not acting the way you're supposed to, right? It's just, they're just container words. Um, but all in all, what happens is that there's this one component that these masculinity accounts, these female dating coaches, the tradcasts, all these groups and factions, they're all missing one thing, right? And the one thing is that we have to you have to become the villain. And when I say that, that means like whatever social uh constraints you have, not legal constraints. Don't be an idiot and break the law, right? But whatever social constraints you have, you need to break them. And they will never say that. All everything outside. The only group that's sort of is like, go for yours, and maybe it's a little unethical sometimes, but it's like the PUAs. But the PUAs have a very one track, like their goal is to get laid, which that's a good goal, right? But for the most part, every part of these groups, religious guys, you have religious guys, you have the traditional conservatives, you have the feminists, you have the female dating coaches, you have the scientists that think they know everything about dating. They read all these statistics and they're like, I know about dating, but they date, like, they probably don't even date women. Like, they probably date 3 girls a year, right? Meanwhile, there's guys that are like dating 5 girls a month, right? And they're quietly learning about women. And when they see these researchers and statisticians talk about women, they're like, in the abstract, it's almost like more hypotheticals, because you can manipulate statistics to make your um point become stronger, right? But for the most part, like, do you think any of these researchers have anything on me when it comes to, like, I have face to face? You can go to college and learn about lions for 4 years. But who do you think is going to know more about lions? The guy that's researching them in the field and is wrangling with them and maybe had a couple close calls with them, or the guy that's sitting in a comfortable classroom in the United States seeing pictures of them and like, like, no, it's the guy that's in the field. Yes, they'll know more technical aspects, but the guy in the field has it almost second nature when dealing with them, right? That can never be taught to someone, right? That's why I say we cannot be talking to women about women in the abstract, right? Let me get some of these chats. Hmm. We got Tadeo Velasquez. Tadeo Velasquez says it's not about being a bad person. It's about recognizing your self-best interest is not going to be aligned with everyone else's. Yeah, and also the final part of that is it's recognizing that your self-interest is number one, and number two, that you may be seen as a villain because of that. We're gonna get into that. And he says sometimes doing what's good for you is not what someone else wants from you or needs from you. Right. We have Godspeed in the chat. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, he's still here. We have Opium Tales. How you doing? We got Marty in Sales. Nice villain. Yes, I am a nice villain. We got Brie Guy on Twitch. How you doing? Zachary Moore in the house. It's a lesson in how repetitive human beings are. Yeah, like what's old is new. Like nothing changes. We all try to act like every crop of humans that comes out has come up with something, but everyone already knew this stuff like 10 years ago. So, and even more. Yeah, field paper. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous where these researchers have this kind of like, I know everything about women and you're just insecure. But I'm like, dude, I've been in the field for the last 3 years constantly, and I'm telling you guys right now, like, these researchers say this weird stuff, and it's all goes through what I call the mommy gynocentrism filter, right? and it's like they have to check in with female emotionalism before putting any fact out there. It's like, how is this going to look, right? And you know who does that? White knights. And we're not white knights, we're villains. We're going to tell the truth, but I'll tell you the difference between the type of villain you want to be, right? Because there's plenty of guys out there that are just mean to women and just mean to everyone, and they're just mad and bitter and all this stuff, right? And that's not the type of villain we want to be, right? But we'll continue. They call it looking out for number one for a reason. Yeah, it's so you got to look out for number one. Calillo Mysterio. Yeah, it's I don't know what you're talking about. This is my normal look now. I don't know what is this something wrong with my face? My job's literally taking hot chicks out of their clothes. Yeah, you paint and color women, right? Yeah, sometimes I pay for models for but or sometimes I pay for models, but sometimes I grab regulars. Okay. Godspeed says psychology ethics boards are the bane of my existence. Yeah, are you in that field, Godspeed? Anyway, guys, moving on. 8 of you guys in here, 10 o'clock at night. I appreciate it. Oh, we have a super chat. Thank you, Jorge, for the super chat. I don't have a sound. Do I have a sound? Do I have my sounds up? Something like my streamer has been acting up. There we go. Thank you. Oh crap! I left it on loop again. Why does it do that? Oh, it's not on loop. Is that the sound loops 3 times when I had it? So yeah, I'm getting a stream deck soon, and I'll get some good sounds for you guys. But yeah, you become a villain when you put your self-interest in front of society's. Yeah, that's you de facto. You will become a villain if you care more about yourself than society. You will become a villain. Like you automatically. There is no way out of that, and that is what a lot of guys are afraid of. They they constantly trying to qualify to mommy gynocentrism, not feminism, gynocentrism. Feminism is just a strategy. It's basically, hey, we're going to take advantage of 2 things. We're going to take advantage of your need to protect women, and number 2, your fear of being uh, taken out of or expelled from a group, right? So that's why men, even if they don't really care about women that much, will double down on gynocentrism and feminism because they're afraid of getting fired. They're afraid of being seen as a bad person. But guess what? Um, you have to be better than that and realize, like, hey, I don't care. Like, and there's ways to do this, right? And we'll be moving on, right? So, like I mentioned, all these groups, all these people, they have to run their facts, their logic, their thinking through a filter. That filter is gynocentrism, right? Like, how will this look for women, right? If I say something like, um, who should pay on the first date? That stupid argument that we've been having for years that mainstream dating advice is like, um, who should pay on the date, right? They always say, well, whoever planned the date, right? And they're saying that they're pushing, they're removing the gender out of that problem because they cannot just say, hey, women will never pay on a date because they're just not built for that. Right. Obviously, I've had women pay on dates. It's a nice thing, but it's just like it's the cost of doing business, guys. You will never expect a woman to pay for anything. Right. So uh what they do is that whenever there's an issue or a problem, they run it through the filter and they're like, how do we spin this article, this fact, this scientific finding, this statistic and twist it, at least the words twist it around so it may sound better for it may sound better and it won't emotionally like hurt women, right? It's the emotionalism filter, it's the gynocentric filter because you gynocentric rule number 1 is never make women look bad on a mass scale. Yeah, we'll take examples of bad women and we'll be like, what a bad woman, but on a whole, women cannot be made fun of, look bad as a whole, as a mass, right? Um, uh, yeah, and they'll say like, "Hey, whoever planned the date." But guess what, guys? Who plans the date? Who's supposed to plan the date? Men, right? So it's like in a proxy way, you're saying men should always pay the first date. But the thing is, you're not using that because you're too scared of mommy gynocentrism to come after you. right? And you see this in articles. Here's another article. Here's another article that's very common nowadays because we're in the whole apocalypse. It's so and so city has a spike of venereal diseases, right? And you're just like, man, men and women are really, you know, I saw one. It was like syphilis, right? In Houston and Austin, there's a huge syphilis spike, 160% syphilis spike. So people are getting busy, right? So in the article, I read it because I live in Texas and I have to be careful, right? I always protect myself, but still, you should probably know about the venereal diseases because women are getting busy, guys. That I'm telling you, one of the most shocking things you'll come across when dating is that more women than you think have venereal diseases, right? Not all of them, not half of them, but more than you think. At least as a beginner. And what happens is they'll say, well, there's a spike of syphilis in Houston or Austin, and you're like, well, okay, there's a spike of syphilis, and then you just read the article, and they're like, we're urging women to use protection and all that stuff, blah blah blah, and to take care of themselves, right? Nothing in that filter says, hey, like, stop having so much sex, like, just fucking chill for 2 months, like, stop throwing it around, maybe relax and wait until the things dies down, right? That is the most obvious, most fail safe, right? Now, obviously, will people listen? No, probably not, but like, that would be, scientifically speaking and rationally speaking, if you could manipulate people, that would be what would solve the issue. Number one, right? So number two, it's always whenever an article like this comes out, it's always made as if women are the victims, right? When in reality, if we run all the statistics and the numbers, 1/3 of men aren't having sex or like having sex like once a year, right? And then maybe, and that doesn't account for like the next standard deviation, which is like maybe guys are dating 3 girls a year or 4 girls a year, which is still not that much, right? Getting laid 4 times a year, right? Which is still not that much. So even as you move right on the standard deviation on the chart, right? You're still looking at women are the ones that are pushing this because it's like 3 or 4, like, not a lot of dudes smashing on the girls. We know this. We're ad nauseum, right? We talk about this constantly, right? So when we look at these articles again, many articles do this and they push the gender, the language in a way that makes it seem like both men and women are at fault. Are both men and women at fault? The top men probably, and most women probably, right? Um, and that's just the way it goes. And then they're blaming, or they're making women seem like they're the victims of all this. And like, no, they have agency, right? Um, another article that I saw is like, millennials are going into credit card debt for dating, right? And like, again, who pays for the dates, guys? It's men. So instead of saying, hey, women aren't really like living up to their bargain of feminism and ain't paying for anything, and men are going into credit card debt just so they can get laid these days, right? And no, the article is like, millennials, right? Like put both um trying to put trying to put us all together, like, oh, it's men and women. Women are not going to credit card debt for dating. You know what they're going into credit card debt for? Traveling, right? Traveling and yeah, bro, yeah, traveling, just traveling and buying, bags and stuff like that because women are very susceptible to consumerism, right? But yeah, let me get some more of these chats. Zachary says, as a kid, I identify with villains because they seem cooler. Now it's because they're often right. Yeah, they make a lot of sense, right, in the movies. Zachary, the first time a woman bought me a drink, I thought it was an episode of Punk. Yeah, it's pretty strange, but you just roll with it. Say thank you, but guys, when the girl buys you a drink, act entitled. But say thank you, but you're like, act like it's not a big deal. Like, yeah, cool. You gotta let her know that, hey, this happens to me all the time. You're not special for buying me a drink, but you'll still say thank you. Godspeed says they don't even mean to. I think they just don't want to be offensive, unintentional, gynocentric filter. Yeah, well, it's the way they were raised. Like, most men are defective women. They're like, oh, can I say this? This is messed up. They'll look around, and it's sad because now when I hang out with younger guys like Zoomers, like at my pool, it's just like still, even where there's just dudes around, they still gotta run things through the filter. I'm like, dude, you're safe here. Like, it's just me. You know, like you don't have to use like therapy language around me. You don't have to like talk like that. You can call them bitches, you can call them hoes. Like it's not a big deal, dude. Anyways, yeah. Let me just leave out the super chat here. So, what happens now, you got it in the media, the articles, they all have to run. The average dude also has to run. And it's not like, can you blame them that much? Because it's like your job's at risk. Your um your ability to feed and protect yourself is at risk, right? So if you're going to become a villain, you have to be a charming, competent villain, right? We've all seen villains that are dumb, oafish, just like don't plan ahead. They're just strong, or like they're just dumb. Like Lord Farquaad from Shrek. Just don't know how to control their mouth. They're not tactical. They're not strategic. They're not always two steps ahead. Those are the villains that most guys who first get into the red pill are. They go online, they complain, they make fools of themselves. You have your Pat Stedmans, and your Steve Molyneux, just these guys that are like, oh, I want to stand up for men and I want to say the truth and right, and then they get destroyed by the mommy gynocentrism, and it's just like, well, dude, you're not so much of a competent villain, right? You could have charmed your way through this, um, you know, and then what happens is, um, now you're locked up, you're silenced, and that's what happens these days. And then they try to play the martyr card, like, oh, I had, my followers, blah blah blah, and it happens every so often, couple years. It happened with the Tates. It happened, now Trump. As much as I love him, but like, when you poke the bear, there's nothing you can do, right? You're messing with people that not only are they're powerful not because of their influence, because Trump has a lot of influence. They're powerful because there's a psychological thing that they have over the average person, which is like, people are afraid of being seen as a bad person, right? And that's what liberalism is. It takes advantage of that, right? So if I say, hey, I don't think climate change is that real, I think we'll be fine, automatically a lot of people will be like, hey, you hate Mother Nature, you hate the dolphins, you hate the ocean, you hate trees, you hate it, you hate life. And they're just like, no, 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 I don't throw my trash on the ground, and I'm a clean person. I just don't think it, see what I'm saying? And it just goes on and on. And that's how they control and manipulate you, right? And that's why you have to be kind of like really stand behind that, right? You have to, if you're in a conversation and you look at somebody says, do you believe in climate change? And you're like, ah, not really. And they're like, wow. And you're just like, yeah, just, you hold your ground. And you look and you say, hey, do you? And, and you're like, yeah, well, cool. I'm like, well, okay, man, have a nice day. I mean, what's your plan? What's your plan to change my mind? Right. But yeah. All right, next point. So yeah, mommy gynocentrism. That's why dating advice, most of it is trash, and because they have to run it through a filter to make sure that they don't offend women, right? Like, she's not yours; it's just your turn. Um, well, a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's defeatist. That's like those red pill maniac." Now we're called maniacs, right? Those red pill losers, whatever. Whatever, blah blah. But I'm like, hey, man, is there any, and this is how I explain it to a woman online here, right? And I said, hey, is there any consequences if you leave me? She's like, well, I'm like, no, right? No, nothing. Do I own you? Are you my property? I'm not talking about in the romantic sense. I'm talking about like physically, do I own you? Right? Is there any law that says if you leave me, I can call the police and they can bring you back to me? No, right? So there's nothing holding you here except your desire to be here, right? Do people change their mind? Yes, there's a thing called breakups, divorces, ghosting, right? Yeah. So is it always predictable? No. Is it always probable? Yes. So to protect my mental health, I have to assume that for right now, I am yours for the moment and you can leave at any moment. And that is how I'm able to appreciate you more here in the moment, because I know tomorrow you can just walk out the door. And boom. And you know why I was able to explain that to a woman? Because I'm charming. You have to be the charming villain. You have to explain it to way in a very charming way, and that's just how you defeat this, right? And I think Red Hawk talks about this, and it's basically you're never going to convince the mass of women to do something, right? No matter how much you yell at them, embarrass them, you make them look dumb on a podcast, it'll never change it. I mean, you guys know it, but a lot of people don't. But on an individual level, when meeting women, whether it be, just acquaintance, friend, or, romantic, sexual, you have to be attractive. In any of those arenas, you have to be attractive. There's the only way you convince women of what you're thinking and all that. And when I say convince, that doesn't mean like they automatically become listen to you. I'm saying they just, I can see your way, nuke. And that's just, and even why would you want to waste your time? Because they're not really going to change it. They fill up their environment. So it's like whatever. So yeah, they're all gonna dating advice sucks because they all run, their little advice through female gynocentrism filter, and it's so boring. And you're just like, yeah, you're never gonna get laid having to constantly check in with gynocentrism and making sure mommy feminism is happy. It's just nation of defective men. So hold on one second. Anyways, now you may be saying, "Hey, I don't need to become a villain. I'm fine. Everything is, maybe I'm getting laid here and there. I'm happy, and society doesn't bother me that much." But just know, like, if you still feel like it ain't so bad and the red pill is a little too much, and you know, um, like, think about this: podcasts, like dating podcasts, the more extreme ones, the more like popular extreme ones, right? We all know who those are. There's a reason they exist, right? And it isn't because men are innately don't like women or innately they do want to see people who are bad get their comeuppance, right? But for the most part, men really don't dislike women on an individual level. They'll meet a girl and they'll be like, okay, she's not that bad, right? But um if you guys really think that like being a villain is bad, or you got to be a hero and all that stuff, the I have no enemies crap that like zoomers talk about, right? They have like they say, oh, I'm in my villain arc, or I'm in my I have no enemies arc, right? Here's what I can say: this, think of the pandemic and what they did, right? Think of all the damage they did, of not exactly, not only the government, the average person, right? The average person with agency. Think of how many people were fired because they didn't get the what. Think how many people were depressed, locked up in their houses. You know what I think of? I think of like I couldn't work out. They closed my gym longer than it had to be closed. And I live in Texas, and I really appreciate them opening when they did because they opened pretty fast. But think of people who were in other places where they couldn't work out for like 6 to 8 months, right? While fat, overweight people were telling them that they were a bad person because they wanted to go to the gym and be outside. Think of how ridiculous that was, right? Um, think of, let's say, if you're a Trump supporter, think of how they've been treating him, a guy that you voted for, a guy that pretty much made this country a little better. Think of what they did to him, right? Think of all the times that you as a man have been treated unfairly or poorly, whether it be dating, job, or whatever, or put second place to a woman's needs for no reason, right? Think of all those things. Now, I'm not saying take it out on anyone, right? I'm just saying that how could you look at all this and be like, like you have to have some kind of impetus to make you want to like be a villain, right? You're fighting for nothing, right? Because I did it right all my 20s. I worked hard and I grinded and I worked myself to the bone to almost insanity when I was in the military, and I left the military almost broken, right? Because I worked so hard and I got nothing out of it, and I made one or two mistakes and I got destroyed for those mistakes, right? Obviously, the nuclear navy is high stakes, right? But still, and I walked away kind of broken and feeling guilty, and I thought I was gonna have a better exit to my career. I got an honorable discharge, and a lot of the people in are still respect me and love me, right? But it was a tough. The last year was more chill, but it was a tough time, in the military near my end of my career. So it's like all that over the years, I realized like, hey, like I don't want to sign up for this. I don't care about what everyone's trying to fight for or what everyone thinks is right. I don't care, right? And another thing, as part of a villain, you have to stop caring about everything except for yourself and the things you can't change, right? So if women on a podcast be like, "Well, this is affecting women," I'm like, "That's not my problem. I don't care how much they're hurt. That's not my problem. There's law enforcement. There's legal representation. There's a judicial system. There's friends and family. None of that, what you're going through or what women go through on a large scale, don't care. You guys are big. You guys have agency. You guys can fix your own damn problems. Don't care. Not my problem. Move on." Hey, oh, women are going to be lonely and not have husbands. Great. I'm dating 25-year-olds now. Sorry. Um, that's not my problem. Right? Not my problem. Right? And trust me, guys, I don't know how old you guys are, but when you get to my age, you've done everything right. You're going to start getting hit up by women your age, and they're going to be very aggressive. They're in the early 30s, 31, 32. Those women are the most aggressive. Those are women willing to hop on you on a plane to go somewhere, to go vacation, because their time is running out. They have to build that connection with the man, and. But like, if they're single and lonely for the rest of their life, I don't care. That's not my problem, right? No one cares about me being single and lonely. Like no one, right? It's just, guys, you have to start looking at the bigger picture and stop running your thoughts through the gynocentric filter and start running it through your own filter and be like, hey, you know, um, where was society when I was alone in a pandemic, isolated? Where was society when I was going through this? No one cared, right? So why are you so caring so much about like the plight of people that don't really care about you, that don't exist, right? And that's always going to be my like question for guys. Like, you need to move on and stop trying to like fit in and just move on and become the villain. I think Aaron Clare talks about this in the menu, but you must also realize that you are already dead. Right. What's the saying? There's a Japanese saying of this too. I think I have it as a. Let's see. Let's see. There we go.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
Yeah. It's basically omae wa mo shindereyu. Basically meaning you are already dead, right? So what do I mean by that, right? So you are already dead, meaning that like, dude, you're already in a deficit in life as a man. You don't have you're not automatically respected. Even then, like, go to a club right now and you'll have to wait in line with 20-year-olds, and they don't care that you're 34 and established. You got to pay your way to get in, right? So go anywhere and no one really cares unless you know people, right? You obviously got to build, you got to build build rapport with people and make friends and all that stuff, right? So you are already dead. No one cares about you, right? You are pretty much invisible to most people, to most women, right? And you know what that means? It means you're free, right? It means you're free. That means right now, there's so many things that you may think are disadvantages, but are great advantages. And as a man, when you are already dead, meaning your reputation is already in the gutter, you're already seen as a guy who takes advantage. Like, if you date young women, you take advantage of them, right? There you go. And it's just like, well, do you like young women? 99% of men do. So just do it. Like, why do you like girls on Twitter? All they have is guilt. They have nothing else. They will constantly make up weird stuff. They'll flip things. That all these women are very online, and um they constantly look um at what's going on with men, and they try to flip it. Like, there. Okay, like I can give you the comments like, oh, well, men hit the wall too. I don't know why they don't talk about male. I'm like, yes, men become unattractive if they don't work out. Great. But guess what? 6 months of working out, a man can become super attractive in just 6 months. A woman that's 30 can be attractive, but she'll never be attractive as a man as when she was 25. As long as when she was 25, she wasn't obese, right? It's just like the they want to put you in a box and they want you to play by your rules, right? And the same thing I said about like passport bros. Passport bros is the same. Like, they'll shame you because you want hot women. They don't care. Their weapon is guilt, and the thing is that they keep doing it because it works, and that's what I'm here for, to tell you guys that it should not work because no one cares about you. You are already dead. You don't exist, right? You are already dead. You're a ghost. No one cares about you. And the thing, I mean, your family, right? So act like you're just act like you're a loner. Act like the bad boy, the leather jacket, um, like a post-apocalyptic movie, right? Where you're just out there surviving and you're by yourself. That's how you got to act like, because in reality, the only thing they have against you is guilt, right? I cannot believe that guys argue with women online about this stuff because it's like, dude, oh, passport bros, you're insecure because you're trying to go to another country where the women are feminine and thin and fun and possibly find a wife. And they're like, they'll put every single reason to shame you, like, oh, those women are dumb, they're poor, which they're not. Like, I met a girl here in Dallas who was visiting, and she was from Mexico. She was a veterinarian, very beautiful, one of the classiest women. I fumbled her, right? Because I had so many other women at the time, but she was good. And she just said hi today. Such a very classy girl. She's from Guanajuato, right? She's going to school there. And it's so weird to see these trashy women with forearm tattoos and cursing and all that stuff, saying, oh, those women there, they're poor and dumb. I'm like, yeah, they have universities in third world countries, right? Like, the doctors don't all come study here, the engineers don't all come study here, the veterinarians, like, they have their own university for that stuff, and there's a lot of smart people there, right? So as a guy, you look at this and you have to like feel like you have to explain yourself to these online women that supposedly are happily married, supposedly got a lot going on in their life. I'm like, yeah, you're arguing with muscular red pill men on the internet. You definitely hit the lottery there. So guys, if you want to go to Thailand, if you want to go to Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Eastern Europe, if you want to go those places to go get married or to bang women, freaking do it. That's what are they gonna do? You've done zero things illegal. Obviously don't hurt anyone, right? But you've done zero illegal things. And if you go there and you get played, laugh it off to your friends like, oh, I got played. Like, I spent $500 or $200 on this girl and I got nothing out of it. Your friends will make fun of you and you move on and you go back again because now you learned your lesson, right? You know how crazy it is to me, right? When I have to go online, I log in and I see these women just trying to shame you into a good little boy, into their little gynocentrism box. And guys are just like, no, and I'm like, dude, why don't you just do what you're doing anyway, right? And move on with your life. And you know what makes them even more mad? Just like living your life and being happy, right? Oh, well, your lifestyle isn't good because God or whatever. And I'm like, well, what's your plan? And then this is why this phrase is so powerful. What's your plan to stop me? Right? I was on a podcast where I had a guy that was a virgin and an older gentleman who was a single father, and they were giving me a sermon, right? Like, hey, this, and that. It's not good. And I just basically said I got tired of the lashing and the moralism, right? And I said, hey, how about this, guys? How about this? I'm not a good man. And the room fell silent. And I'm like, exactly. Because after I admit that I'm the villain, that's like what you're trying to do is you think I'm a hero. You think I care about how people look at me. Well, how people I don't know look at me, right? Um, so let's just do this. I'm not a good man. I'm a bad person. Can we move on now? Like, do we have to keep talking about like my morality, where I stand? How about this? I'm a bad person. Good. And that's all you need to do, guys. When someone starts shaming you for your life choices, just look them in the eye. I'm like, hey, have you ever considered that I'm not that great a person? And they'll be like, what? And it's like, yeah, maybe I'm just not as great as you think. And then you move on. It kills them every time, right? There you go, guys. I gave you, so let me get some of these chats. Let's see. Why does Nuke hate the Dolphins? Yeah, screw those Dolphins. What have Dolphins ever done for me anyway? Ugly people love they got to call the police on anyone not wearing a mask. Yeah, it's like the mommy nagging, mommy gynocentrism. It's just, geez, women my age forget it. Yeah, I can't, man. I can't. I mean, I could have fun, but even then, even having fun is like, I'd rather be alone. I'd rather probably spend the night by myself. Zach Moore says 29 is a pretty desperate year for them, according to Royce. Yeah, and like a 29-year-old dude, even if he's fat, doesn't have the urgency that a 29-year-old hot blonde model does. Love the Nacho Libre mask, Nuke. What are you talking about? Mask? I don't know what you're talking about. 4Bud says, nobody likes you either way. You try your best to please all of your life, or you say fuck it and do whatever you want to enjoy life on your terms and your own point of origin. Yeah, it's very freeing, but you have to let go of the fear of being judged by people you don't know, right? The only people you should kind of care about your opinion are the people in your own life. And even then, they probably want to see you happy, and they probably will forgive you for you doing certain things, right? Godspeed says everything's always going to be your fault regardless if you do the right thing, or so you may as well do what you want. Exactly, right? Because like if you get no women, you get no you're bad at women. If you get too many women, you're taking advantage of them. If you date old women that are your age, the only thing really that you can do as a man is just do your own thing, or else you'll go crazy. The wall is way cooler to women than men. Yeah, of course it is, right? Because it's like the medium is a message. You can go on the internet and you can be like, well, there's a male wall, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah. I don't even know what the male wall, I don't know. Define that for me, first off. And number two, like, you know how much money women spend on plastic surgery? And it's not in their early 20s, So the medium is the message. What does it say? It says that, hey, as women get older, they have to compete. They feel like they're losing their edge in the dating market, so they have to do certain things. A lot of them lose weight and become fitness obsessed, right? I see very few women in their early 20s fitness obsessed. It's all the women in their 20 that are 28 and up all of a sudden go to the gym 4 or 5 times, which is good. It's good to have these habits, especially if you're trying to become a mother, you want to be in shape before the pregnancy. But it's just like the medium is a message, right? Like you are now competing with women younger than you, right? For guys, we can bounce back. And that's why there really isn't a male wall. The male wall basically is like, the male wall is more like, it doesn't have to do physical. It's all mental. Male wall is like giving up. on life, right? Once you give up, then yeah, you've hit the wall. But even then, you can still get convinced to go get back on the horse, right? And get jacked again, make more money again. And you know, you can be my age, mid-50s, and have no problem with hot chicks in their 20s just by being somebody. Yeah. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, basically. What's your plan? Strawmanning on Twitter is hilarious. Yeah, it these ladies, man. I'm sure they're all soft landings for their husbands when they get home. And it's just like, why are you arguing with muscular red pill men on the internet? You know, like I can do this all day. I can go back and forth with a girl all day, right? I love arguing with people. It's fun, right? I had a lot of fun on that one podcast. I just argued, and eventually I was like, oh, I know I'm going to get them. I'm just going to tell them that I'm not a good person, and they, you know, and but they like it, and women are terminally bored, so they need entertainment. So one of the things that they do is go online and argue with men, right? Show a little titty here and there to get to rise their ranks of defenders, and then they go argue, and then they get if you guys notice the how it goes is that women that are in this space will disappear for a week or two, and then they come back and they'll disappear for 2 weeks. That's because they can't really be in this space too much. It's a lot to handle, because when you talk about intersexual dynamics, there's a lot of things you got to talk about that are kind of dark and show in an unflattering light. Show both genders in an unflattering light, right? But since we're all villains here and we're okay with being ourselves, then it's all good. Universidad de Guanajuato is one of the prestigious universities. Even Europeans go to study drama. Yeah, I think the girl I was talking about, she is studying veterinary medicine. I think it's for horses. Like, she wants to be a veterinarian for horses. She is. Yeah, I fumbled her. She's a very pretty girl. Very respectful. I had her in my apartment, and I never did anything. Yeah, she would have definitely got her green card through me. Maybe I'll show you guys a picture. Let me show you a picture where it doesn't. Yeah, I'll flash it real quick, but this is hers. So, very sweet girl. I hope she has a great life, and she's here in Dallas. I'll give it a shot, but like, you know how it goes, guys. Once you don't lead, when you don't lead strong enough sexually, you don't spike her emotions and all that stuff. But she says I'm welcome to come to Guanajuato, whatever, and I'm like, yeah. Anyways, Alex says, if you want to study medicine in Mexico, the best of the best universities, UNAM, Universidad Nacional Autónoma Mexicana, or National Autonomous Mexican University. Yeah, I bet you they have good schools there. But like you guys, like they say, like there's no smart women in third world countries. They're all dumb. Can't believe that. Jack Nicholson said the male wall is 70. Yeah, after 70, and even then, you could still do cool stuff at 70. Best answer ever. Yeah. So what's your plan? Yeah. Just remind people they have no agency over the stupid things they talk about, right? That's the best thing about the red pill, because you can sit here and complain about the whole of women, but like if you come to a show like this, we're like, okay, guys, what are we gonna do this week? What are we gonna learn this week? What have we learned? Let's fix our problems. And we talk, we change notes. You guys give me a little bit of super chats because you're nice, and then we go home. That's it. Like they're like, you know, women like men who can make them feel, and feel includes getting pissed off. Yeah, you have to spike her emotions, and women don't know this. Like they think that like it's all magical and it happened and all that, but women need drama. Women need emotions, and all that stuff. Knowing that alone will get you laid. Yeah. Anyone remembers the cartoon called Mucha Lucha? I used to watch it on Cartoon Network. Yeah, I heard of it. I never watched it though. I heard of it though. In your amazing history watching anime, what's the best anime character who got game, Nuke? Which anime character has the most game? I would say Gene Starwin from Outlaw Star. He has a lot of game. Um, Man, who else? Good question. Because most anime protagonists are seen as either awkward in the beginning or they're just more heroic and they don't really pay attention to the girls. So it's usually the side characters that are like the more guys that are players. I would say what's his name from Demon Slayer season 2? Tengen Uzui. Yeah, I think he has the most game. He has 3 wives. He has 3 wives and they all love him. I think he has game. So yeah, I'm sure McJared's still fucking chicks in their 20s and he's past 70. I think Nicholson is wrong. Yeah. Alex, hit the like button. Yeah, guys, hit the like button. We'll get through this. We're almost done here. So yeah, so now let's talk about what does it mean to be a villain in today's world, right? Does it mean to wear a suit and just go out and do evil things and commit great crime? No, it does not. You go to jail, you're stupid, don't hurt people, right? What it means is you want to be a competent villain, right? Ever seen a show where the villain's always, or a movie or whatever, where the villain's always like one step ahead? He's very relaxed, he's very charming, he knows the stakes, he knows the situation he's in, but yet he has full control of everything. And when he doesn't have control of everything, he doesn't care, right? And I know recently the media has shown villains as being childish, emotional, stupid, and all that stuff. But let's talk about villains in shows and movies. And if you guys know any, put it in the chat. Um, there's there's a way to go about this, right? So first off, you have to know your boundaries. Really hard to set what really bothers you and what really will you not put up with, right? Um, there's certain things that you can do that really it may socially seem unacceptable, but at the same time, it's like whatever, dude, you're just doing you, right? Like if you're talking to a girl and she kind of like, ghosts you or whatever, talk to her friend, hit up her friend, or her sister. What's stopping you from doing that? Really nothing. If you're talking to a girl and you like the friend, talk to her too. What's really stopping you? There's no, oh, that's wrong. I'm like, yeah, so there's so many things wrong with society, and I don't care. You have to be the kind of villain that's a step ahead, that isn't be like, oh, well, since I talked to her, I can't talk to her friend. That would be bad. Bad to who, dude? Bad to who? You're already dead. No one really cares. They already see you as a villain. Like what? Why do you care about morality at this point when no one really cares about you? When you're already dead, right? So you have to be a step ahead, right? So when these girls, like for example on Twitter, have these kind of like discussions about how men are this, men are that, and they're like, oh, this doesn't work on me, negs don't work on me, game doesn't work on me, this is just pathetic that men do this and blah blah blah. You have to be a step ahead of them. You have to, when you date women, they'll always have these like objections, right? Last minute resistance. And I know there is a way to defeat last minute resistance, but it's not ethical. Like I don't recommend this, right? But it works, and that's it's a topic for another day. But um the thing is that you want to be the kind of guy that's calm and collected and sees women as like silly protagonists that are just don't get those extent to your power, and how like mired they in their own self-belief and delusion. Meanwhile, you've seen the reality of life, right? And you know how women work, you know what they respond to, and you understand that you have to spike their emotions. You understand that logistics matter. You understand that having a rotation of 3 girls is much easier than having a girlfriend, right? A lot of guys don't think that because they're like, well, what, well, dude, when you have a rotation of girls, you don't have that fear of losing her as much as you do a girlfriend or a wife, so it's like that takes off so much pressure, because if she falls off, you still have 2 other girls, and you probably, if you have 3 girls, you're probably having a 4th and 5th in the wings or working on, right? So it's like, okay, well, how does that work? What do you do to get 3 girls? And I'm like, okay, well, like, you, number one is that you're gonna have to make yourself your own point of origin, right? And we all know what that means. I mean, if anyone needs it explained, we can do a show on it. But I think Ryan Stone explained it pretty thoroughly on his video 2 years ago. But that's gonna make you a villain in the eyes of many people, right? When they see you do the things like, for example, a lot of women kind of caught on that I went to Mexico last weekend, and I, guys just don't go to Mexico by themselves. Like they caught on that I went with a young 25-year-old girl, right? And they could tell women are not dumb. They could tell. So, but then those same women see me at salsa night dancing with other women, and they're like, "What the hell? This guy's like, what is he doing? Like, is he have a girlfriend or, And it's just like I'm always a step ahead, right? And one of the best things you can do as accepting your new villain persona is always play dumb, right? When you get called out, like if you're on a podcast and they're like, "Oh, I bet you do this, and say this to girls," like that's not ethical. You just be like, "I don't know what you're talking about." That's another thing that the competent villains do. Always play dumb, always play innocent, act like you don't know. Always play dumber than your mark, right? Basic 48 laws of power, and it works like crazy. When girls shit test me, and they trying to get me to like fess up to something. One of the best ways to pass a shit test where they're trying to get you to say or fess up to something that would disqualify you or make you look bad in front of them is simply say, "I don't know what you're talking about," or just be like, I don't understand. Playing dumb works so well. It's almost endearing to them, right? You need to search for Sata Kuyuya Nuke. He's a real Chad. Did I pronounce that right? What is that from? Is that an anime? Kyle says those chicks that act all hard like game doesn't work on them are literally the easiest chicks. As soon as they well put together guy runs and given a little bit of game, they're drooling. Yeah, it's kind of like paradoxical, right? It's always the girls that are the bitchiest and the angriest and think they understand men and online and have high IQs that they are the most susceptible to game. It's actually the cutest thing. It's like God's gift to us. God said, "You know what? I'm gonna make women like this." And for the guys that figured it out, this is gonna be crazy to you guys, but enjoy, right? Um, yeah, it's being a villain, guys. It's just such a peaceful life. You already accepted that you're dead. No one that you're already seen as a bad person, right? No matter what you do. Society, like women are mad that you don't make enough money. Women are mad that you're not good in bed. Women are mad that you're too good in bed. Women are mad that you have that you're not married. Women are mad that you are married. Women are mad that you have multiple women. Women are mad that you have no women. They'll never be happy, guys. So just be the villain and live life and move on, right? Um, and don't be the foolish, loud, crony villain that a lot of guys try to become. Like these are the guys that are getting canceled, locked up, fired. You need to be a quiet, charming villain, right? Like the guy in the black suit in the corner of the bar that asks a girl to dance and gets her Instagram, and then later on asks her friend to dance and also gets her Instagram, and people are watching. They're like, "What the heck's? You guys just see that?" And then slowly say bye to everyone. All right, guys, have a good night, and text both of them. Be that kind of villain where you are getting what you want out of life, but you're doing it silently and quietly, a quiet assassin, right? You don't have to go online and rant and say these crazy things. You don't have to be public about it. Live your own life and yeah, exactly, Alex. Lex Luthor, quiet, charming, right? Obviously, he goes up against Superman and all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, what saves Lex Luthor is his intelligence and his charming, right? And that's all you need as a guy. You don't want your antics to be out in the public. I made it. It was one of my first videos. Be quiet. Don't say too much, and just move on and just be quiet with it, right? And you'll realize, like, once you get into higher body counts for yourself as a man, that um, it becomes like you realize that no one is this isn't for no one but yourself, right? At first, you're like, guys, I gotta lay you back to your friends, back to everyone, and then you realize a couple women in, and you start learning, and you're just like, wait, this is all for me. And there's like this new intimacy that you get with women, and it's amazing, right? The polarity you get there, they know that you have other women. They know that you're like different from other men. They know that they can't control you with morality or with guilt. It's just like this evil kind of like they just want to fall into your evil side, and they feel that's why they're so enamored with like the Beauty and the Beast kind of like fantasy where they take a guy who's inherently evil but has a good heart on the inside. It's what novellas are based on. A lot of movies, a lot of female novels, female novels for females. It's all the same thing. So why not just be that? They literally write the stuff for us to copy. You're just like, oh, that's all I got to do, be a villain, right? So, give her the impression that she cannot control you, right? Whenever she tries to control you in a playful way, say, hey, I'm sorry, you don't have enough badges to train me. You can't control me, even if you tried, like I'm not that type of guy. I'm a free spirit, right? And they love that because one, you're becoming a challenge. Two, it shows competence. A man that lives and dies by his own code is a strong man, right? A man that doesn't get ruffled up by women or feminine men is a strong man, right? And they like that. Inherently, it's and it's okay to disagree with women. Obviously, be it charming with it, right? One thing that I do on dates, I'll give you some free game, is when the subject traveling will always be a subject on dating in a date, right? So get ready for any good stories you have about traveling, right? Assume that every girl has traveled more than you because any girl past 25 has probably traveled more than you, right? Traveling is this whole it's all his old culture, right? And women like to go overseas to get hook up and have fun, excitement, whatever, right? But for the most part, one thing I tell women is like, hey, traveling is boring. I'm not really into it. And you see their face change, like, what? What do you mean? And it's just like, yeah, it's no fun anymore. I don't know. It's just not my thing. And it's like you've separated yourself from like everyone. You've basically said, yeah, I'm bored. I need to do something else with my time than travel. I'm not a fan. And then she sits there trying to qualify her lifestyle to you. Like, so you tell her, hey, well, convince me why should I start traveling again? Tell me your reasons. And she's there explaining herself. And guess what? You created a dynamic where she's trying to qualify to you in your standards, right? It's a little trick that I use. I'm not saying it's super effective, but it does kind of like catch them off guard and makes you seem less agreeable. And it's something that women really hold dearly is traveling. It's like one of their gods, right? So yeah, don't be the foolish, loud, crony oaf guy that always gets in every movie, anime, show, gets taken out first and looks stupid. Be the quiet, silent villain in a suit at the end where he's at his desk and he has like that kind of like speech with the hero where he starts talking a lot of sense and the hero's like, wait, hold on, you do kind of make a lot of sense, but why did you do this? And then you start explaining like, really, dude, no one really cares. Like, I'm just living for me. So guys, yeah, I think that's all I have in the matter. Like I said, there's no villain arc. You're gonna be a villain your whole life. You're gonna be a villain tomorrow. No, everything you do as a man is seen as, obviously face to face with people in your circle and your day to day. They will not treat you like that. Everyone here, the women in my apartment, they all treat me good. I mean, they don't know me that well, but everyone treats me good. I have a transgender neighbor. She lives 2 doors down, and even I see her as a normal person, and she's nice and waves to me in the morning. I have a girl that I approached and I try to ask her out, and she said, no, I'm seeing somebody. And every morning I see her and I wave when we walk our dogs, and I wave and I say, hi, how you doing? Right. So face to face on a intimate level, like people in your daily life that you see, they're not going to exactly look at you and be like, ugh, like there is a man, right? But like on a mass scale, and like the overall like feeling towards you is that you are overly privileged, that you take advantage of women, and that if you get laid too much, it's bad, and if you don't get laid enough, it's also bad. And if everything you do is not for the express pleasure or benefit of women, it's bad. It's just like, okay, you can't win, so why don't you just be a villain, right? Why don't you just, you know, do your own thing and live your life on your terms, right? And then you're gonna realize like what that really means. And that means like you'll hook up with a girl that you like, and you'll look around and you'll be like, man, I'd caused no damage to anyone. No one was hurt. Now I just have a girl sending me IG reels the next day and wanting to see me again. Or maybe she may ghost you or something. Doesn't matter, right? You did no damage. The only damage you did is if you make it public and you let everyone know. And sometimes you gotta understand that you'll be a walking abomination, right? I was on a purple pill and I had those guys not attack me, but kind of criticize me. And I tell them like why I needed to do the way I do. And then ultimately it came down to, hey, I'm just not a good man. I'm not a good man. And that's it, guys. So I introduce you to another phrase. What's your plan? Very good phrase to use for people complaining about society on a whole and trying to change it. I introduced to you the next thing. When people's trying to shame you or trying to get you to conform to their morality, their arbitrary morality that you don't even know what it is, but apparently you're not it, just say, I'm not a good person. And then boom, moving on. Like they'll have nothing after that because you've already proved their point. They got it out of their system. It wasn't that they needed you to be a certain person. They just wanted to shame you so they can feel superior to you, right? So uh let me see. Bro, you know your shit. Yeah, man. Hopefully I do because I have been taking mental notes in the last 3 years and I've learned a lot. And I've been reading this stuff for 10 years. So um it's just that resistance that they're using to showcase that they're not 304s are easy. Yeah. It's tough. There is a way to defeat it almost like it's worked literally almost every single time, say 9 out of 10 times, but I don't want to say it on air. I'll probably say it maybe in my Patreon or something, but it's legal. It's completely legal and it works and it gets the girls like it's like a switch. Like they're like, okay, let's go. Like now. So yeah, it's one of the craziest novels that showcase woman nature and the real desire is the story of O by Pauline Rage. Reach? Yeah, I wanted to meet the secret or the garden or something like that. It's like they interviewed women about their fantasies and it's like crazy stuff. But yeah, women have some crazy fantasies, guys, and they can get pretty dirty. But that's okay. Like that's what we're here for. We as men nowadays they don't really need us for anything, but they do need us for to complete their fantasies, right? And it gets crazy. Like I always thought that we men were the dirty ones, but then sometimes like there's some girls like the other day, a girl asked me for feet pics. I know it's hard to believe. I'm still in denial, right? But she said, "Can I get a picture of your feet?" And I thought it was a joke. And I'm like, so I like talked to her. I called her and she's like, I'm like, "Hey, you're joking, right? Like you're messing with me, right?" She's like, "No, that's, I just like them." I'm just like, okay. And then I haven't sent her a picture of my feet, guys, but I just needed to be sure she was or was not joking. So yeah, girls are like a little bit depraved. You'll be surprised what they're into, what they need from you as a man, and you just gotta, if you like her and she's a good person, and it's not too crazy, go ahead. Like we're here for them, right? In that regard, right? Sammy Moore says, "Facts. What's the one thing you see on dating apps? They love to travel, and you can bet they already have." Yeah, and excessive travel is a red flag for a wife, guys. Like it's as a guy who grew up in a tropical destination, and I've also traveled all over Europe as a kid and also as an adult. I can tell you right now, a guy that turns a blind eye to this stuff. It's definitely a red flag. Um, Well said, amigo. Put them on the defensive. Yeah, always put them on defensive. Say things that'll like knock them off. We have Kiki, you're Oh my god, I'm gonna butcher that. I'm sorry, Kiki. I'll try. That's a tough last name. Um, but Vil I and what does that mean? Like, anyways, Alex Patino. When I started caring for me, that's when I started to have most success. Yeah, when you can become really selfish, like it's pretty great. I like that. I like that. I'm not a good man. Another law of power. Surrender is still a form of power. Yeah. When I looked at those guys and I said that, they just had nothing left. They're just like, yeah, this is who I am. There's nothing you can do. Right. Hey, girls are just as dirty as we are. Yeah, I would even argue even dirtier. Godspeed says, yeah, feet pics. Yeah, dude. I it was a Snapchat conversation, so I can't give you guys receipts right now. But like, there's just some girls that are like, you know, you just gotta pry. And I think the number one thing you gotta do too is when you're dealing with the girl, like, do not ever shame her at all, no matter how much of a slut or crazy she is. Do not shame her, right? Go straight to just whenever she opens up a little bit sexually, be like, wow, it's pretty awesome. Like, you want to try it, or just like, that's so hot. Like, unless it's something really like fucked up, that it's just like you need to go to therapy or something. But for the most part, there are women, like, what women need from us sexually. It's like, once you open the door, like, be ready for some crazy stuff, right? Like I said, this girl asked me for feet pics. There's girls that will ask you for dick pics, right? I know there's like this whole, like, women will shame men for getting sent them, but there's a group of women that once you're comfortable with you, they have attraction, and maybe you've hooked up once or twice. They be like, hey, can I FaceTime you and see it? I'm just like, it's 11 p.m. and I have work tomorrow. Like, what the heck? And it's just, um, I used to during the pandemic, I used to FaceTime this Chinese girl, very nice girl, smart. She had photographic memory, super smart girl. But sometimes I'd be like chilling on the couch watching TV, pandemic, not much to do. And she would just FaceTime me and I'd be like, hey, what's up? How you doing? And she's like, yeah, good. Hey, can I see it? And I'm just like, what? And I get it why women get annoyed by, like, men be asking them for pics in the moment, because you're just like so comfortable on your couch. And then she starts taking off her top on during the FaceTime call. And you're just like, ugh. And you feel bad because you're like, yeah, I'm into it, but like it's so awkward to just, you know, on a FaceTime call for me personally. Like, it's just awkward. Maybe I need to get over myself. But yeah, just don't shame women. You'll be surprised what you find on the other side of that non-shaming, some of the most classy, put together women have some of the kinkiest fantasies, right? And you can't fulfill that unless you are a villain. You need to become the evil man in her life. The man she can't control, the man that's two steps ahead, the man that's always seems calm and collected, and just she can't guilt or shame into acting the way she wants. It'll fill her with attraction and desire for you, because no woman wants a man that's easy, right? They want a man that is a challenge. Don't want a man that's mysterious, that his morals are questionable. You see it all the time. It's really obvious. I don't know why guys don't catch on to this, but yeah. Um, and add to that, like, a competent man, but also competent for himself, right? So yeah, guys, I could do a whole separate show on, like, female kinks and the things I've seen and how to go about, like, getting women to open up to you sexually. Um, but for the most part, um, the first time you um, sleep with a woman, right? You have to perform. Obviously, that doesn't mean break your back. That doesn't mean have this fear that if you're not an absolute superstar in bed, she's gonna leave and go for someone else, right? But you still have to perform a little bit. Have fun, enjoy yourself, right? And then, like, women tend to open up right after sex, and they start, like, telling you things, right? And um yeah, there's a lot of things that we like that they don't understand too. They're just like, there's some women that just don't understand why we like boobs. Like they just like, I don't know why you like them. Like, right. And it's just like, hey, you know, like I can't explain either. That's just evolution, I guess. Yeah. I thought it was just weird dudes who were into that. Yeah, this girl, she's a weird girl, but I mean, she's pretty cool. She just has a crush on me, and due to like circumstances, we can't really be together. But she's still nice, and she gets like, what happens is that she drinks sometimes, and I'm like the first guy she texts, and I have to get this like paragraph of like all the things she would do to me, and I'm just like, what do you do with that, right? It's 11 p.m. I got work. Why do I want to? I don't want to sext right now. You know, like I'm like playing video games at 11 p.m. about to go to bed, or reading a book or something, or playing piano. So it's like, do I really want to? You know, Opium says true. I can't even tell you half the stuff I filmed. Yeah, it's crazy. Um, for real, no judgment. Amuse mastery will get you laid, right? And if you have once you develop this like. There was one time a girl last year told me that she didn't. Okay, you know what? Never mind. This is YouTube. You know what? Moving on. But anyway, yes, for real, no judgment. Amuse master will get you late. Exactly. There's kinky, then there's you need therapy, then there's you need Jesus. Yeah. And the line is very thin, guys. Very thin line. But I will say there's some things that are like women really like the idea of. Like there's women that are like, if you tell them, hey, I'm gonna go to your job, pull you into the bathroom, and we're gonna hook up or something, that turns on all women. They're like, can you please do that? Like that sounds amazing, right? And it's just like, I can't because I don't want to get you fired, but like you could see like there's this there's kinks that are universal, and there's very specific ones. So my man Chad Elkin, CPA in the chat. Gotta lose your temper once in a while. Honestly, yeah, you gotta show emotion. Women are emotional creatures, and you gotta get a little mad, and you know, but it's better if it's manufactured, right? You don't want to actually be mad. You want to be like, you want to get ahead of their need for drama, and kind of manufacture. That way, you're in control. It's like a controlled fire, right? What would you rather have, a wildfire or a controlled fire? To keep the forest going, right? So. Man, my goal is to be where girls want my feet pics. Yeah, it's rare, guys. It's like this is the only girl in my whole life that's like told me this, right? Probably there's other girls. Um, there's other kinks. Like there's some girls that want to record themselves having sex with you. Um, there's girls that there was a girl that was like, hey, can you watch pornography, adult films while we hook up? And I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, we can do a whole show on this about like things we've seen. You guys can tell me, and we can get into this, right? I really don't like talking to this stuff online too much, but like if you guys want it done, we'll have a show. We'll try to keep it as respectful and not way too detailed. Um, but yeah, guys, I can go all day about this, but yeah, ultimately, become the villain, live for yourself. Don't be the stupid oafish crony that always gets caught, and like everyone now that's getting canceled, demonetized. Be the silent, quiet, charming devil. In the back of the club, in the back of whatever room that's like quietly pulling girls away towards him. Um, be the guy that can fit in any social circle, and he does well. Hard to figure out, hard to grasp. And when people attack you or corner you about your beliefs or your morals, just say, hey, I'm just not a good man, and what's your plan to stop me? There's nothing you can do to stop me, right? Like you literally have to become a villain. That does not mean break the law. That is not what I mean at all. That's stupid, right? That's only stupid people break the law for some kind of higher purpose, unless, it's really, really worth it, like it actually will mean something in society, right? You can't beat mommy gynocentrism, but you can make mommy gynocentrism work for you. And that's what true, charming, competent villains do. They turn feminism into their own ally, right? Because villains are good at that. They're good at taking institutions, societies, heroes, and making them work for them, right? You don't want to be Darth Vader, guys. You want to be Emperor Palpatine, right? Where Emperor Palpatine was quietly working behind the scenes. He came to power. He got everything he wanted. Obviously, he got defeated at the end because the plot needed to happen. But Darth Vader was the one all messed up in pain, you know, because he was a different type of villain. He was loud. He was like angry, emotional, and look where that got him, right? Anyway, guys, I appreciate your time. I appreciate Jorge. I appreciate your super chat. Thank you guys for joining me this late. I know you guys have things to do. You guys got to be at work tomorrow, but I appreciate you guys' time, and it's good to be back, guys. I'll continue to make more content, and I'll come up to speed. So you guys have a good night.
Young gun, no one that back calling me splurge.